Hey everyone, I'm going to take a look at the new AC Milan pack that's been added to eFootball. I'll also take a quick look at the Okafor card that's been added to the points store. As always, I'll put timestamps in the description for each player, so if you want to hear about a particular player, click on the description and there'll be a link to take you straight to them. So, we've got 11 players in this pack. We've also got a manager, Paulo Fonseca. We'll start with the manager. So, we've got a quick counter manager. So, he's 88 for quick counter. It doesn't have any other playing styles particularly high. I know there have been suggestions from one or two people. I know Axel mentioned in the comments last time that Sepp was talking in a recent video about one of the managers he's picked up from one of these packs, and he was saying that he feels like his team plays a bit differently based on the other playing style ratings. I don't think he or anyone else has proven that, and I've not played enough matches to have an opinion on that myself, but there is a suggestion, at least from some people, that the other ratings for play styles do make a difference. But if that's not been proven, if I've not felt that myself, I can't really comment. But on that basis, I'll just say this is a quick counter manager. He's, of course, a double booster like all these packs. So you've got +1 physical contact, +1 kicking power. If you're farming it, 200% of 5-star players. But yeah, essentially, quick counter manager. If you've already got an 88 rate quick counter manager, I don't think you'd need this one. Otherwise, it could be gone for you to pick up. But that's about it, really, for the manager. So let's get into our players. We'll start with a goalie. We've got Maignan. Let's jump over to eFootball Hub. We'll see how good Maignan gets. So, getting maxed out, pretty boosted up, and he's pretty solid. So, we've had quite a few Maignan cards on eFootball. We've had a few Player of the Week cards that are at a similar level to this one. We did have one Showtime version of Maignan. That's the best version we've had of him, unsurprisingly. But in terms of trainables, mostly pretty similar. There's one, I think it was a no-name contract one, kind of blue background that wasn't quite as good. One in some kind of Milan pack, or maybe it was from a Milan Legend box. Went to a slightly higher rating, but to be honest, they're all pretty similar. To be honest, this is pretty much par for the course for a Maignan card, and yeah, it's pretty solid. You've got the awareness and reflexes at 90, catching and parrying. I mean, catching's pretty average, parrying not brilliant. Reach is decent. He's about 6'3", so reach is all right. Jump's decent, certainly better than Player of the Week keepers. So yeah, if you've not got a good version of Maignan, it's a good goalie card. It's solid. It's not incredibly good, I think, these days with the way the legend cards are going. A lot of these cards aren't looking so great anymore, but it's still a solid one. Got a decent section of skills down there. Would need low point, I think, for a lot of people, but yeah, it's about pretty much par for the course for a Maignan card, to be honest, and it's a solid goalkeeper, really, not much more to say. And we've got a couple of centre backs in the pack. So, interesting selection, Gabbia and Pavlović, but I'm not sure even Fonseca himself knows who his first choice centre backs are at this point. But we'll jump over to eFootball Hub to see how good these guys are. So we'll start with Gabbia. So Matteo Gabbia, fully boosted. He's kind of all right, not amazing. We've only had one feature version of Gabbia. That was a Player of the Week card. On the whole, pretty similar to this one, to be honest. It was one of those boosters. When it's fully boosted on A form, pretty similar level on the whole, but a bit more on the physical strength and aerial, and a bit less on the defenses, but similar on the whole. Does have more skills than this one, though. Skill-wise, you are a bit lacking with Gabbia. So you've got heading now, superiority, and then you just got block and acrobatic clearance. He needs interception and man marking for a start. Maybe his fighting spirit as well, sliding tackle, but yeah, a few skills needed if you're going to use this guy. And he's fairly solid, but like I say, he's not amazing. The engagement's a little bit on the low side. To be honest, there's no other major weakness really. He just needs a few skills, and he's just not anything special. If you compare him to his GP card, if you look at his GP card on auto allocation, he has had a decent enough boost overall, but and heading has had the biggest boost actually out of any of his attributes. Most of these cards just had one attribute boosted more than the rest, so it's heading with Gabbia. But yeah, decent boost on the whole from his GP card, but it's mainly the left and right columns really, and not much with the defenses, to be honest. We did really want to boost the defenses on his GP card. The only way to really do that would be if you take away all the points from his speed, acceleration, lower body and dexterity. But if you do that, you're only getting a couple more points on defensives, and you end up with all his lower body and dexterity attributes being identical to his GP card, really. And the only other place you've got points you could spare from is the physical and aerial strength, which I don't think you really want to do on this card. So yeah, I think I would just leave it as is, to be honest. It's a solid enough card. He does need a few skills, but yeah, it's nothing special. I think you probably need to be a Milan fan to get any real value out of this card, to be honest. Now, our other centre-back is Pavlović. So he's new to Milan, doesn't have a face scan yet. I'm sure he'll get one soon enough. Let's have a look on eFootball, see how good he is. So, maxed out and fully boosted. Again, he's pretty solid, but the thing with this guy is he's got the build-up playing style, but he's built like a destroyer. He's got really good defenses down the middle. He's physically very strong, but You see the acceleration, the balance in these technicals. He's not going to feel comfortable on the ball. He's going to feel clunky, cumbersome, and that stamina is horrible. So he's kind of got the profile of a destroyer, but the playing style of build-up. Not a great match for me, but he does have a lot of strengths in some of the most important areas. Just there's a few dodgy ones there as well, and he is going to feel a bit clunky and uncomfortable. So yeah, pros and cons. It's the first feature version we've had of him. If you compare him to his GP card, again, it's a decent enough boost on the whole. The attribute that's had the biggest boost is speed. And if you train his GP card up with auto allocation, the defending has been boosted slightly compared to his GP card here. Physical and errors are identical. And again, like with Gabbia, the left and right comms have had the real boost, to be honest, which is interesting. But yeah, on the whole, solid. If we look down the skills, he's probably got a few more than Gabbia there, but still lacking 1 or 2, I think. Or is he? You've got heading and aerial superiority, man marking, interception, fight spirit. But he's got a good selection, to be fair. Maybe he could do with sliding tackle, acrobatic clearance, but apart from that, it's a decent selection, to be honest. So yeah, I think like with Gabbia, he's usable. I think there's probably quite a few people who'd find this guy alright on the whole. It's just with that stamina being so low and the fact he's going to feel a bit clunky and a bit unresponsive, horrible on the ball, there are some things to be wary of there, but there's also a lot to be said for him. He's got the strengths. He is defensively and physically very strong. So yeah, and just looking at jumping 79 in terms of retraining this guy, it's not a great deal I would do, but you could nick one off defending and just probably shove that straight onto aerial, to be honest. And then 1 point spare. Goalkeeper 1, obviously. I'll probably just do that. Not going to make a massive difference, but enough to nudge that jumping up into the 80s. So yeah, be careful of how clunky and cumbersome he's going to feel, but he's got some qualities there. He's got a decent selection of skills. I don't think it's an amazing card on the whole, but certainly not a bad one. So you got 2 centre-backs who might not be amazing, but very usable on the whole. And now onto our full-backs. We've got a right-back and a left-back. We'll start with our right-back. We've got Emerson Royal, former Spurs man. Probably needs a new face going. He's got a bit more hair now. Let's jump over to eFootball Hub, see how good this Emerson Royal card is. So max him out, fully boosted. Yeah, he's alright, to be honest. He's rapid. The speed and acceleration, speed and stamina are fantastic, well into the 90s. Defensively, apart from the awareness, he's pretty strong. Down the left, tight possession is pretty iffy, but the rest of these down the left are kind of alright-ish. We've had 2 previous feature versions of Emerson Royal. One was in one of those kind of legend boxes, and one was in a Brazil pack. Both slightly higher rated than this one, but honestly, if you look at the attributes on those auto-allocated, not a lot of difference really. So it's pretty much par for the course, I would say, for this card for Emerson Royal. He's had a reasonable boost from his GP card again. The attribute that boosted the most is his acceleration. I don't think it's one where he really needed the boost, but I'll take it on a fullback. And would I do much with the training? Yeah, I think most of you, if you watch my videos, will know I'll take those points off lower body for a start. Because we could do with a little bit down the left, make him a bit more comfortable on the ball there. 8 points left, nice. Stick him on defending probably, and 1 more aerial. I'll probably just do that. In fact, no, that last one's going on dexterity, get the acceleration up to 90. I'll probably do that. Yeah, he looks pretty solid, to be honest. Speed and acceleration both 90 plus, decent kicking power. Physically and aerially, not bad for a fullback, not bad at all. Balance, I'd like a bit more on there, but he's not far from the 80 mark. Stamina still at 90. Defensively, I think he's pretty strong on the whole. I'd like them all to be 80 plus, but awareness isn't too far off, and the rest are all in the 80s already. And down the left there, it just improved him a little bit more comfortable on the ball. I think on the whole, he looks alright there. And looking at his skills, he's got most of the ones you'd want on an attacking fullback. He's an attacking fullback. I'm pretty sure he used to be a defensive fullback. I might be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, as an attacking fullback, I think pinpoint crossing is the one skill he could do with. So I would look at our pinpoint crossing. Outside of that, we've got man marking, interception, fighting spirit, sliding tackle. He's looking alright, really. Just I think pinpoint crossing. Maybe you could put 1 or 2 passing skills on him as well, but for me, pinpoint crossing is the only real miss from that skill set. So yeah, it's pretty much par for the course, near enough for an Emerson Royal card, and on the whole, I think that's a pretty solid fullback, to be honest. And on the other side of the pitch, we've got our left back. We've got Théo Hernández, a fullback finisher. We've had a lot of Théo cards. Let's look how good this one is. So, max amount in eFootball Hub, fully boosted. And he looks pretty par for the course, to be honest, for a Théo Hernández card. So, as I mentioned, we've had a lot of Théo cards. There's been a whole bunch of Player of the Week cards, all around a similar kind of level to this, but the attributes tend to be shuffled around a bit. Some of those Player of the Week cards are a bit stronger defensively, some of them are a bit stronger technically, but all around about the same level on the whole. This is a trainable card though. We have had a Showtime Théo Hernández. That's unsurprisingly the best version we've had of him, so this one won't be as good as that. And there was one in I think a legend box or a kind of Showtime box that was slightly better than this as well. But outside of those, this is up there really. It's pretty much the same level as most trainable versions otherwise of Théo Hernández. So it's a decent version of him. He's had a reasonable boost overall from his GP card. Comparing to his GP card, they've only boosted most of the attributes by kind of 1 or 2, but defensive engagement's gone up by a few, aggression as well, and physical contact. So there's a few that have gone up a little bit. Most of these cards, they tend to boost just one attribute by more than the rest. But there's those few attributes on this guy that have gone up a little bit more than the rest. Speed and kicking power identical to his GP card. And interesting, when you auto allocate the GP card and then you auto allocate this one, they put 4 more. They increase the dexterity by 4 more on this version of Théo Hernández, which is interesting. But yeah, on the whole, like I say, it's pretty much par for the course compared to most of the good Théo cards we've had. He's obviously got crazy pace and stamina there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and take some of those points and put them somewhere else, beef them up a bit in other areas. But yeah, this is usually the thing with Théo Hernández, is that he's got crazy pace. He's just not that amazing elsewhere, but they have boosted a few of his attributes, and it's looking like a decent version. We'll have a look at his skills before we retrain him. So this is one of the problems with most Théo cards. Going forward, we've got loads, so we've got a couple of skill modes for you there, but then long range shooting, knuckle shot, dipping shot, rising shots, a bunch of shooting skills, and then through passing, pinpoint crossing. Going forward, fantastic. Then defensively, nothing. So we badly need defensive skills. If you're going to get this card, you plan to use them a lot. Interception, probably the most important one, then man marking, maybe his blocker. Really need to put some skills on him. He is very one-footed, so I would give him outside curl as well. I think outside curl will be an important one. So yeah, those defensive skills and outside curl would be very important on this guy. In terms of the way he's trained, as I mentioned, you've got so much speed and stamina. We got a lot of attributes that are in the 70s here. I'm definitely going to retrain him a little bit, so I'll take 4 off lower body. You could take even more off, to be honest. I'll start just by doing that. Make him a bit more comfortable on the ball. Nudge that tackling up to the 80 mark. Improve his passing. I'll probably just do that, to be honest. 1 point left. We could take 1. In fact, if I put it in goalkeeper 1, that nudges his jumping up to 70. There we go. Happy days. I'll probably do that. So he's still got great pace there. Decent kicking power. Physically quite strong. Balance again. I think that's identical to Emerson. It's not brilliant, but it's not too bad. I've seen worse balance on Théo cards. Stamina's great. Defensively, he's decent enough and not amazing, but we've nudged that tackling and awareness up to the 80 mark, which is nice. He's reasonably comfortable on the ball for a fullback. Low pass is decent. Lofted pass isn't great. He does have pinpoint crossing, but his crossing is not going to be brilliant. I've seen better crossing on Théo cards, to be honest. I think I've got a free one. I think it was maybe at Christmas or something last year. And the crossing of mine's in the 80s. So yeah, the crossing I think has been better on other versions of Théo Hernández. But yeah, he needs some defensive skills and having 1 or 2 better ones. But on the whole, he does match up to most of the previous versions of Théo Hernández. So it's a decent version of him. Just needs a few skills. But yeah, it's a pretty solid version of him. It could be worse. Now into the midfield. So we'll start with Yunus Musah. We have all he needs a face scan, doesn't he? He's had a haircut a while back. Box to box, centre midfielder. Only standard form. Let's see how good this Musah card is. We'll jump over to eFootball Hub. So, maximum level, all boosted up. He's alright. We've had a few versions of him previously, all trainable. So there's one that was a free one. I think it was the same time as that Théo one, possibly at Christmas if I'm not mistaken. There's one in some kind of Milan pack, or maybe it's a Milan Legend box. And there's another one from another, probably Legend or Showtime box. All 3 of those that we've had previously, pretty similar to this one, to be honest, on the whole. Stats shuffled around a little bit, but same kind of level overall. Again, he's had a reasonable boost from his GP card. I don't actually see any attributes being boosted much more than the rest on his GP card, to be honest. It seems like all the attributes have been boosted by about the same amount. So pretty even boost, and yeah, he's alright, but he's a midfielder who's very much attack-minded. You can see with these defensive attributes, the tackling is absolutely awful. He's not strong defensively. He's not strong physically either. So as a centre midfielder, you're going to need at least 1 midfielder behind him doing the defensive work. And if you look down the skills here, no defensive skills either. So very attack-minded centre midfielder. He's got through passing, 1-touch pass. If you play him in the middle, will be very important. And then interception as well. I think those are the first 2 skills I put on him, interception and 1-touch pass. And yeah, in terms of the attributes, pretty solid. I don't think I'll change a great deal. I would be focusing on what this guy's good at, which is obviously getting forward. He's pretty tidy on the ball. He's got good passing with through passing, just needs one-touch pass as well. You could say maybe he's weighted pass. He's reasonably two-footed. I don't think outside curl is too important on this guy. He's got good pace for a midfielder. Balance I'd like a bit more, but it could be worse. Stamina's great, but yeah, defensively lacking a bit. Could you make him better defensively? I mean, you'd have to probably take a bunch of points from these technicals, and even then you can't make him good defensively. I don't think it's worth it. I'd probably stick to pretty much his auto allocation as a centre midfielder, to be honest, and just make sure you got 1 or 2 players behind him doing the defensive work for him. And then he can focus on what he's good at, which is getting on the ball and getting forward. As a right midfielder, I'm just going to see what eFootball tells us for right midfield. What does it do? So it's basically taking some points from passing and made him even quicker. I don't know if you need that much on his pace, to be honest. He's already got reasonable pace. I personally would do probably... I can't quite get his shooting to 70, that's annoying. But yeah, I'd probably do something like that. He does have decent pace, very decent pace. He is good on the ball. His passing is decent. His crossing's not great. He's right-footed. Yeah, I think he's got a reasonable enough profile if you train him to play wide midfield. But on the right, with that lofted pass being quite low, even if you gave him pinpoint crossing, I don't think his crossing would be great. Maybe playing on the left if you gave him long-range curler. If you gave this guy a long-range curler, he's got first-time shot there and through passing, cutting his side into his right foot from the left. But if you position train him for left midfield, could be effective there, but then the finishing's a bit low. So yeah, wherever you play this guy, there's 1 or 2 weaknesses. He does have some qualities though. He's quick, he's quite good on the ball. I know I've heard other people in the past who've picked the free version of Musah up say that they liked him a lot and he's quite decent. So you may well like this guy. But like I say, whichever position you play him in, centre mid or either wing, depending if you position train him, he's got qualities. There's one or two slight weaknesses there, but I think certainly with the strengths that he does have, if you gave 1 or 2 skills, he could be kind of get quite a bit of value out of. He's an interesting one, but yeah, he's attack minded. Either centre mid or right mid. Lots of qualities there. Just be mindful of the weaknesses, but you could have a bit of fun with this card. Could be a decent one. And our next midfielder is Tijjani Reijnders. So he's having a great season. I think he's on 6 or 7 goals now. Just scored a couple more yesterday. I was watching that game against Empoli. Turned into a very important player for Milan. So another box-to-box centre midfielder. Let's jump over to eFootball Hub to see how good this version of Reijnders is. Just finding him on eFootball Hub. There he is. So max him out, fully boosted. And to be honest, not too dissimilar to Musah. He's not as quick as Musah, but he's very much attack-minded. You see defensively here again, he's weak defensively, can't tackle to save his life. So very attack-minded. You will need 1 or 2 midfielders behind him doing the defensive work. If you're going to build a team out of the players in this pack, then you might struggle in that regard, because the only other centre-mid we're about to look at is Loftus-Cheek, and he's not a good defender either. So yeah, another attack-minded centre-mid. That is true to life. I do wonder with Reijnders, are they going to change his playing style at some point? He's had a whole player player of the week card. The goals he's scoring, he's bursting forward every game, scoring goals. So I wouldn't surprise me at all if they made him a whole player. Although they could just beef up his attacking awareness and his finishing. To be honest, I mean they need to do that either way to really reflect how well he's playing in real life. But yeah, this is a decent looking Reijnders card. Very technically sound. Obviously a lot better going forward than he is at defending. We've had a couple of player of the week cards. As I mentioned, one was a whole player, the other one was a box to box. Pretty similar level to this one on the whole, to be honest. Just the stats were shuffled around a little bit. There's actually a player of the month card from when he was in the Netherlands playing for RZ. That was probably about 2.5 years ago now. That was not a particularly great card. I wish they still did those Eredivisie player of the month packs. Actually, that'd be interesting. But yeah, we don't get many interesting things in this game, do we? But yeah, previous trainable versions of Reijnders. What have we had? We had a couple of slightly better ones, a couple of slightly worse. So he's around about in the middle, to be honest. It's an alright version of Reijnders, but not the best, certainly. And compared to his GP card, he's had a reasonable boost. It's not a massive boost. Interestingly, if you go with auto allocation puts +4 on defending compared to this one. Interesting that it does that. If you retrain the GP card to try and match this one, it's not a million miles away. Like I say, it's not a massive boost. And interestingly, again, some of these cards, most of these cards, certainly in previous packs, they pick out one attribute and boost that a lot more than the rest. But like with Théo Hernández, they picked out a few with this one. So it's tight possession, finishing, and balance. Those are the 3 attributes that are boosted more than the rest on Reijnders. And quite interestingly, they've only put +1 on his defensive attributes. So yeah, that is true to life though. Like I say, he's an attack-minded midfielder, and that is very much the way he's playing. He's doing a lot more getting forward and scoring than he is defending, although he is a box-to-box really. But yeah, it's a decent midfielder. Looking at the skills, he's always had a decent section of skills. He's got one-touch passing, through passing, and he's got interception. He's got a very good selection of skills actually for a centre mid. Double touch from Marseille, turn cut behind, then soul control is nice. Long range shooting, dipping shot. I do think he deserves to have a higher finishing attribute than that. The passing is good. Then 95 is great for low pass and one touch pass, through passing, and weighted pass. He's not particularly two-footed. I'll give him outside curl if you're going to put some skills on this guy. Interception is an important one for a centre midfielder. Depending on how you use him, certainly if you played him as a defensive midfielder, you would need probably man marking blocker as well. But I don't think you can really train him to be good enough as a defensive midfielder to make that worthwhile. You see, even if you go with the auto allocation as a defensive mid, he's reasonable defensively there, but that's probably more of a centre mid build for me. That's putting 12 on defending, and still tackling is only at 77 fully boosted. That's not good enough. So I think this guy definitely is best as a centre midfielder, like with Musah, making sure you get one or two midfielders behind him doing the defensive work, focusing on what he's good at. He's going to get forward, can be tidy on the ball. He's got very good passing on him. It's a shame his finishing's not better. I think it deserves to be. It's not the strongest physically. He could do it a bit more balanced. There are a few attributes where I'd like him to be a bit better. So it's not an amazing card, and have been one or two slightly better versions of him, but he does have some qualities. Certainly going forward, he does. So yeah. He's a decent midfielder again. I don't think it's an amazing one though. I think it could have been a bit better, and I do think they're going to be changing the kind of the overall profile of this guy over time based on the way he's playing in real life. But yeah, not an amazing card, but it's certainly a solid one. And the main strength being some fantastic passing. And the last of our centre mids, as I mentioned, it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and this one is a whole player. Still got face scans, quite an old one, but still decent enough. Yeah, whole player centre midfielder. Got a few positions though. Let's jump over to eFootball Hub, see how good this Loftus-Cheek card is. And when you max him out, going fully boosted, he's, again, the same kind of profile. You know, technically pretty sound, nice passing, but defensively really poor. It's the same kind of profile as the other two centre mids, Reijnders and Musah, really. Pretty similar. He is a whole player, though. He's got better attacking awareness, so certainly than Reijnders. So it's a decent card, but on the negative side, if you compare it to previous versions we've had of Loftus-Cheek, we've had two previous ones, trainable ones, which went to about 99 fully boosted in the middle. They were better than this one, so we've had two better versions. There was another one that was around about the same as this one, but a couple of previous cards of Loftus-Cheek were better than this one, so it's a little bit disappointing in that regard. Compared to his GP card, again, not a massive boost. The attribute boosted the most, just the one, tackling. It's not a bad one to have boosted as a midfielder, but again, you look at the positions he's got, you're going to use him as a defensive midfielder. I mean, even if you go to retrain him as a defensive mid, just look at the auto allocation. Yes, you get the tackling up to 80, but again, that just gives him a centre midfielder build, in my opinion. That's not a defensive midfielder. The awareness and engagement are way too low to be a defensive mid. So I wouldn't use him in that position. As a centre midfielder, to make him good enough going forward, I mean, you could take a bunch of points off passing, actually. Beef up his defending, but is he any good as a centre mid? I mean, he'd be decent as a whole player. I think, to be honest, with the whole player playing style, to make the most of that, you're going to want to use him as an attacking mid. Just put one or two midfielders behind him, doing the defensive work. Focus on what he's good at, not just with the ability, but with the playing style as well, because he'll be making those forward runs into spaces. He's got the attacking awareness up to 80. And that's with only 4 on dexterity, by the way. So that's what I'll do. I think I'll just take all those points off defending. Lower body, I'll leave where it is. That stamina's not great. Actually, just noticed that. As a whole player, he's going to get tired pretty quick. And that's with the lower body gone up, increased by 8. So stamina's not great, but I'm going to put a few more on dexterity, get the balance up to 80. Passing's fine there. And we'll just beef his technicals up a little bit. Can we get the acceleration up to 80? Nice. I just realised the finishing's below 70. That's a shame, but actually we can just do that. We'll just sneak 2 points onto finishing it to 70. Yeah, I think he could be pretty tidy as an attacking mid, actually. So the attacking awareness up to 85 as a whole player is good. On the ball, very comfortable. He's not with much of a dribbler. He's a tall guy as well, but 6'3". Ball control and tight possession 90 plus. He's got good physical contact and balance, or at least decent. It's an interesting profile, actually, as an attacking midfielder. Very comfortable on the ball, good passing. Yes, the finishing's a bit low. Be careful not to try anything crazy with his shooting, but passing will be good. Decent pace for an attacking midfielder. Decent kicking power. Physically, like I say, reasonably strong. And balance is not too often you get an attacking midfielder who's got physical contact and balance over 80. Stamina, like I say, he will get tired. That's one big downside with Loftus-Cheek, but look down the skills. And now we have another downside. So we need one touch pass, we need through passing. If you're going to use him as an attacking midfielder, even as a centre midfielder, one touch pass and through passing, very important. Again, he's not overly two-footed, so outside curler would be nice. Don't double touch, cross up, chop turn, heading, long range shooting, dipping shot, first time shots. So he's got a few shooting skills. They'll help with his finishing not being too high, but one touch passing, through passing, very important. Yeah, he's got like no look pass, but I don't think that's a particularly important skill. I think one touch passing, through passing would be crucial on this guy. But if you gave him those skills, I think as an attacking midfielder, he could be a decent one. He's got an interesting profile. He's a big, physically strong guy. He's also very technically competent. And if you gave him those passing skills, could have some pretty nice passing on him as well. As a right midfielder, maybe. I wouldn't do too much different with the way he's been built here, to be honest. He's not overly quick, though, for a winger. And if you wanted to give him more pace, you'd have to sacrifice some of the technicals. You'd need pinpoint crossing as well as a right footer. Again, could you play him left down side? If you gave him long range curler, position training for left mid, maybe. He's technically sound, got nice passing. You could maybe take some points off passing, put him on finishing. Give him long range curler as a left midfielder, maybe. But again, would you want more pace on him? Probably. And where would you get the points to increase his pace? You'd have to lose some of the technicals. So I'm not sure. I think, to be honest, you've got a guy here who, in my opinion, could do a job in 1-2 positions, but as an attacking midfielder with a build similar to this, and if you gave him those passing skills especially, he could have a very interesting profile, could be a pretty effective player in that position for me. So depending on how you use him, he could be a pretty good card, but we've had better versions of him in the past, which is a bit disappointing. So he's not going to be for everyone, but for some people, depending on how you train him, how you use him, could be a decent card, I guess. And now we move on to our attacking players, and this is probably the guy most people are the most interested in. So we've got another Rafael Leão card. We've had quite a few. Prolific winger, he can play down the left-hand side or as a centre forward. Unwavering form, really? Let's jump over to eFootball Hub. How good is this version of Leão? Fully maxed out, trained up, boosted, and all the rest. He looks pretty decent, but we have had better versions. So we've had a whole bunch of Player of the Week cards of Rafael Leão, and they've tended to be a bit better than this one, to be honest. I think about 5 or 6, and to be honest, I don't think this one really quite matches up to any of them. Not a million miles away, though. We've had a couple of legend versions of Leão as well. Both of those have been better, of course. If you look at all the previous trainable versions of Leão, apart from the 2 legend cards, some of the early ones aren't quite as good as this. The ones since then, the kind of better, higher rated versions, to be honest, this one matches up and it's pretty much around the same level. So it's a decent version of Leão on the whole. Compared to his GP card, again, it's not a massive boost, had a reasonable boost. The biggest boost is probably ball control. So looking at him at level 1, ball control is up by about 4 from his GP card, and then they put a few on finishing, kicking power, physical contact. I think about +3 on those, and the rest just kind of up by 1 or 2. So yeah, it's a reasonable boost on the whole. And yeah, I think we all know what to expect from Leão at this point. Obviously, you've got crazy pace on him. Got a bit of physical strength on him, good balance, and he's obviously great on the ball with that 98 dribbling. And you look down the skills, he's got a whole bunch of skill moves. This guy is very popular with the dribblers. I'm not much of a dribbler myself, but I've got the first legend card, and he is great on the ball. I'm a big fan. I like him a lot. So all his skill moves and soul control, long range curler as well as an inverted winger off the left flank, very important. Rising shots, yeah. Heel trick's a nice one to have. Through passing likewise. So he's got a bit of end product. He's not just a he's not just a skill pony. He's not just going to get in the ball and dribble. He's got a bit of end product. You might want to give him one touch pass, first time shot, but long range curler and through passing, 2 very important skills to have. So it's not a bad version of Leão, even if we've had a few better ones. I wouldn't do a huge amount in terms of retraining him, but the one thing that stands out to me, yes, he's got through passing, but low enough to pass there. 73 and 70, that's awful. He cannot pass the ball to save his life. I wouldn't want to take much off dribbling because I don't really want to dip below 90 on ball control, even though he's got crazy dribbling. He could spare some off dribbling, but I wouldn't want to go below 90 ball control. The type sessions are not that brilliant, and he's quite a big, heavy guy as well. So I'm going to leave the dribbling as it is. Shooting likewise, 78. I wouldn't want to go lower than that. So I'm looking at the speed and the acceleration. In fact, he's got one on defending. I'll take that back. Thank you. So what can you spare from the speed and acceleration? I mean, if you don't really mind the passing, if you're going to be careful with his passing, I would leave him as he is, because you don't really want to lose too much of the kicking power. Because when you take points away from low body, yes, you take him from speed, and that's fine. He can afford that, but can he afford to go down into the 70s for kicking power and stamina? That's questionable. And likewise with dexterity, can you afford to lose some acceleration? Yes, but do you want to dip down on balance and attacking awareness? You might not. So if you're not too bothered about the passing, I'll just leave him there on off I done that. I'll just leave him on the auto allocation. I think just with the pace and the dribbling ability. If you're going to be careful with the passing, it'd be fantastic. But if you do worry a bit about the passing, which I would, you could sacrifice a bit from the low body and dexterity, and then he gets passing right up to 80 actually for low pass. Personally, I think it's borderline whether that's worthwhile, but that's just something you could do as an alternative if you are concerned about his passing. I do think the passing is important. Maybe if you just went up to 8 on passing there, then you could just stick a bit back on get his kicking power back up to 80. A bit more dexterity as well, maybe something like that. But yeah, either way, it's not the best version of Leão that we've had. We have had a few better, especially the legend ones and a bunch of the player of the week ones. But he's up there with most of the previous trainable versions, to be honest. So it's a decent version on the whole. If you don't have a good version of Leão already, it's a good card to have. He is very good. He's obviously got great pace. He's great on the ball. And he's quite strong as well for a winger. He's got a bit of end product at the back as well. It just depends how you train him with his passing, though. But yeah, had better versions. But if you don't have one of the better versions, it could be a very good card to have. In my experience, he's a fun one to get on the ball off that left wing. So yeah, good card. As a centre forward, just before I forget, you can't really make him a good centre forward. Just going off the auto allocation, yeah, you got good awareness, pretty good on the ball for a striker, pace and everything else, but finishing is not great. Could you make the finishing much better? Well, possibly. How much can we put on his finishing? I mean, realistically, I wouldn't want to go any lower on anything else, so that's about as good as you can make him as a striker. That could work, but you would need first time shot. And like I say, that finishing 85, I don't think that's brilliant. The awareness is borderline. Finishing 85, not so sure. I think the best way to use this guy would be left wing. And like I say, had a few better ones, but it's a decent version of Leão. And if you've not got a good version, then yeah, it could be a good card to have. And our other wide man on the other flank this time, we've got Chukwueze. So he's got his face scan. He's a roaming flank this time. Let's jump over to eFootball Hub. We'll see how good this version of Chukwueze is. So fully maxed out and boosted, pretty tidy looking. Again, not too dissimilar to Leão's profile, not as big and strong though. Got the pace and the dribbling, but one downside with Chukwueze, apart from one previous player of the week card, which wasn't quite as good as this, all the other versions of him that we've had that I can see are better than this. So we've had a player of the week that was better. It was a whole player Champions League version. Looks like a better card than this one, and the previous trainable ones that we've had, they all look at least slightly better than this one. So this is a bit of a disappointing one compared to previous versions, to be honest. Again, not a massive boost from his GP card. The two attributes they've given the biggest boost to are his dribbling, which he didn't really need, but I'll take that on a winger certainly. And interestingly, his physical contact. So those are the two attributes that boosted the most from his GP card, and on the whole, reasonable boost, but like with most of these cards, not a massive one. And yeah, just like with Leão, it's the same situation really. You got the pace, you got great dribbling, good attacking awareness as well, but passing terrible, and then the finishing not too bad, but could be better. So yeah, he's going to feel great on the ball. I've got the nominating contract version of him. It's one of the better versions we've had of him. I think a lot of people probably got that card. Same playing style, right wing, really nice as an inverted winger. Get him on the ball, cut inside, get shots away. He's been pretty nice for me when I've used him. Looking at the skills on this guy. So obviously we've got a few skill moves, and then we've basically got long range shooting, dipping shot. No passing skills. Outside curler is nice to have, but yeah. Shooting, I think we're just about alright. Long range curler would be, I think, one of the first ones I'd look to put on him, but with the passing attributes being as low as they are, I think one touch pass and through passing would probably be pretty important. So if we did get this guy and you plan to use him regularly, those would be the skills I put on him. Long range curler, one touch pass, through passing. I'll start with those three and pick any other two skills, to be honest, but those two I think are important. In terms of retraining him, try and get his passing up a bit. You could spare a little bit from dribbling, but again, I don't want to lose what he's best at. I'll just take one off the dribbling now. You've got 1 point on defending, so straight away that puts the passing up by a couple at least. Could you spare any of his speed and acceleration? Same situation. You could certainly lose points on speed and acceleration, but with speed goes the kicking power and the stamina, and with the acceleration goes the balance and the attacking awareness. So how much could you afford to lose, really? I mean, that's probably as low as I'd want to go. And where does that get us with the passing? I'd probably just go up to 8 on passing, to be honest. And then I'd either put 2 back on speed, or we could maybe put a couple on shooting. You could even try and nudge his shooting up to 80 if you really wanted to, but then the speed goes below 90. I don't know if you'd want to do that. In fact, take one off passing. Hang on, off I done there. There we go. Yeah, so you can get the finishing up to 80 and leave the speed and acceleration 90 plus. Still very nice in the ball. We've improved the passing a little bit. Attacking we're still at 80. Balance is still just about okay, 85. He will get tired with that stamina being a bit low, so that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I think it's a decent card on the whole. If you looked at it in isolation, decent card, quick, good on the ball. There's an inverted winger coming off the right flank, pretty tidy. You could play him on the left as well, but as a left footer, not great at crossing. I don't know if that's really where you're going to get the most value from. I think from the right flank as a left footer, that's where he's going to be the best. So, and as a roaming flank as well, I like that playing style. It's all a matter of opinion, but for me, a roaming flank, I like the way they drift inside, take up some interesting positions. So yeah, long range curler, one touch pass, through passing. I'll put those skills on him, and then he could be a pretty tidy right winger. But as we've gone to other cards, we have had better versions, and to be honest, this is, as far as I can see, apart from that previous Player of the Week card, it's just about the worst version we've had of him, featured version. So pretty disappointing. I think a lot of people probably got a better version of him by now. But if you don't have a good version of him, and if you don't mind the fact that it's not as good as almost every version we've had previously, it could be a pretty tidy card as a right winger. He's got some qualities for sure. It's just a shame he's not as good as those previous ones. But yeah, certainly could be a pretty fun card to have. And lastly in this pack, we've got our centre forward. We've got Álvaro Morata. So goal poacher Morata, unwavering form. Again, not sure about that, but let's have a look on eFootball Hub, see how good this version of Morata is. So all maxed out, fully boosted, decent. So he's certainly got some strengths here. Firstly, compared to previous versions of him, 2 Player of the Week cards, neither of them quite as good as this one. Both one lower in terms of overall rating, but the attributes were shuffled around a bit on those 2 Player of the Week cards. They also had standard form compared to this one having unwavering form, worth noting. And one of those Player of the Week cards was Fox in the Box as well. We've had a Showtime version of Morata. That was the best version of him, of course. So this one doesn't compare to that one, really. And if you look at the previous trainable versions, the earlier ones from 2 or 3 years ago didn't quite match up to this one. Not on the same level, but most of the ones since then, this one's pretty similar, to be honest. It's pretty much par for the course for most recent trainable versions of Morata, apart from that Showtime one, really. There was one that was in a nominating contract pack, the 100 cap elites, I think it was called. Pretty good, to be honest. Slightly better than this one, arguably. Better in a bunch of areas than this one, but it's, again, the stats are shuffled around a bit, and this one does have better awareness, heading, and tight possession than that 100 caps elite one. So yeah, pros and cons. But if you got that one already, then you've already got one that's at least as good as this one. And compared to his GP card, not a massive boost again. Most attributes only increased by 1 or 2. Interestingly, the ones that boosted the most, they put up, at level 1, they put +4 on physical contact, and they've gone +3 on aggression and tackling. Right? Interesting. I mean, he has been playing deeper for Milan. Fonseca's had him playing a really weird role as a kind of deep line forward, but yeah, I'm not sure that's what most people would have wanted in terms of boosting this guy. So on that basis, and the fact that we've had 1 or 2 better versions, not sure this is the most exciting version of Morata, but looking at it in isolation, you want a good version of Morata, this is a pretty good version of Morata. He's obviously got fantastic awareness there. Not brilliant on the ball, as you probably expect. The finishing is not far from the 90 mark, decent heading. Jumping physical, kind of okay. He's about 6'2", so he'll be okay in the air, not brilliant. Pace, I'd like a bit more speed at least. Acceleration's at 90 though, so yeah, on the whole, as a goal poacher with a bit of everything, just not going to be too brilliant on the ball. It's a decent version of Morata. If we look down skills, pretty much what we expect. We've got first time shot, the most important one. Heading and acrobatic finishing. We don't have aerial superiority. You might want to give him aerial superiority if you ever put, if you tend to put many crosses into the box. He's a super sub, always good to have. Marseille turn, apparently. Don't think I've seen him do one of them. Long range curler. 1 touch pass is good because his passing is not great. Doesn't have through passing. You might want to give him through passing, but yeah, would you change much? I mean, the first thing you look at in terms of areas where you could spare a few points, you think of attack awareness, but then you don't want to go below 90 on acceleration. It'd be nice to nudge his ball control up to 80. It'd be nice to nudge his finishing up to 90. But where are you going to get the points to do that? I'm not sure there's any way you can really get the points from, to be honest, unless you're going to dip down below 90 on acceleration. So if you were going to try and improve in a couple of areas, that's probably the one area you could do it. So we took a couple away from acceleration. Dexterity, I should say. Nudges dribbling up to 80. Nudges finishing up to 90. You've got just 1 point left. Stick it on. Probably passing. I'll probably do that. Not a massive change. It's a shame to go slightly below 90 on acceleration. And to be honest, I'm quite annoyed that his speed isn't a bit higher. I'm going to do that. Because he's at that mark. It's when their attribute before the game plan boost gets to 85. The next increase, it starts to go up by 3. So that's why that speed goes from 86 to 88. Because before the game plan boost, it's 84. When you hit the 85 mark, then that game plan boost will be +3 instead of 2. So that 1 increase on speed there Just going all mathematical on you for a minute there. Gets us 32-8. I think I'll do that, to be honest. So if attacking awareness is great in the 90s, ball control up to the 80 marks. Still not going to be great on the ball, but I'm not sure how much you're going to want this guy to do on the ball as a goal poacher. Passing, not great. Be careful with that. Finishing up to 90, though. Heading still in the 80s. Speed and acceleration both at 88, which might not be brilliant. I always aim for a goal poacher to be 90 on speed and acceleration, so he's not too far off. He's got a bit of kicking power, bit of physical strength. The balance is bad. He's a bit of a donkey at times, so be careful with that. He's not going to feel too brilliant on the ball. Be careful with your shooting. Make sure you set him up to get his shots away, because if he's off balance, you're going to be in trouble. Balance 72, but yeah, like I say, we've had 1 or 2 better versions of Morata, but he's par for the course of most previous versions, and it is a decent card in isolation. So if you've not got a better version of Morata, he's a decent one, and he's a super sub. He can certainly take chances for you, so could be a lot worse. It's an interesting build they've given him in terms of the boost they've done compared to his GP card. But yeah, maybe it's not a card I think many people would be too excited to get, but I think he's a very useful looking goal poacher. He could certainly be pretty useful, even if you don't start him as a super sub, with a bit of everything. Not a bad profile, yeah. So it's a solid version of Morata, that. So there's your Milan pack. As with the other packs we've been looking at, these recent ones, I don't think it's particularly special. Yeah, you got 1 or 2 decent ones. Obviously, most Leão cards are going to be decent. It's a decent version of Morata. It's a decent version of Théo, Maignan likewise, but the Chukwueze card's really not that impressive compared to previous ones. Centre backs aren't brilliant cards, even though they're pretty solid and usable. You got a whole bunch of cards in there that I think are all right, but there's just not a lot in there that makes me think, oh, that's good value for 1,500 coins. It's not, to be honest. If you've been playing this game for more than a week, I don't think that's good value. But like I always say, it's down to you. You know, have you got good versions of these players already? Do you use quick counter as a playing style? For a lot of people, this might be a really good value pack, especially if you're new to the game, because you get 11 at least decent cards, some of them better than decent, and that could be a really good manager for you. So for some people, it could be really good value, but I think for most people who've been playing the game for a while now, I think most of us will probably agree most of these packs really are just starter packs for people who haven't been playing the game long, because for me, been playing as long as I have with the cards that I've got, there's not the slightest chance I'll be spending 1,500 coins on this pack. But it's down to you really. It could be a good pack for you, but for me, it's not the most exciting one. And I did mention I'll be taking a quick look at Okafor as well. They've added Okafor to the point store, same card design, so it's pretty much from the same pack in a way. So let's have a quick look at Okafor. So we've got a goal poacher centre forward. My controller keeps turning itself off over and over again. It's driving me insane. It's just done it 3 times in about 10 seconds. 4 times. So yeah, he's got his face scan, goal poacher. Let's jump over to eFootball Hub. How good is this version of Noah Okafor? So we'll max him out, get him all fully boosted. And it depends which way you look at it, because in some areas, you look down the right hand side, athletically, he's an absolute specimen. Then you look down the left, and okay, the awareness is decent enough, but then, ooh, he's not good on the ball. He can't really pass it, and his finishing's not great. So it's a real mixed bag with Okafor. It's the same kind of profile as he usually has, to be honest. It just depends how you train him and how much importance you place on certain attributes. You compare it to previous ones. There was a player of the week one. There was a whole player. It's a very different one though. They added attacking midfield and SS, and he could pretty much play any attacking role really. A bit of an all-rounder. They made him a bit more technical than he usually is. A lot more technical really, but a bit less impressive athletically. So a bit more of a well-rounded build. Whole player playing style. Very different that one, but. Outside of that one, we've got a few trainable goal poacher Okafors, one in a legend pack, one in either a Milan pack, or I think it was a Milan legend box maybe. And there's also the nominate and contract one and the speedsters pack. And all 3 of those are slightly better than this one, annoyingly. There was another nominate and contract one ages ago. I think it was a national team one, and that was a 3-star card that was not on the same level as this one. But yeah, like I say, there's other 3 previous trainable ones, including a nominate and contract one, are slightly better. I find it quite annoying that when they finally put a player in the point store, and they have done a few lately, but it's just the kind of, you know, the kind of extra players from these club packs, Milan, Barcelona, etc. I don't think they're particularly exciting. And with this one, it was only a few months back, I think, they gave us that Speedsters nominating contract one. So if you wanted a good version of Noah Okafor, you would have used your nominating contract to pick that one up, and this one's not as good. So it's not much of a reward for your hard-earned eFootball points, really, is it? But yeah, there we go. But look at it in isolation though. Decent enough boost from his GB card. The attribute that boosted the most is balance. Is probably one of the ones he needed the boost on the least. I'd have preferred the boost on finishing, or maybe one of his technicals here, but it is what it is. And like I say, it depends how you look at it. Some people might look at that left column and say his finishing's terrible and he's terrible on the ball, not going to be much use. But other people look down the right hand side and think, this guy's interesting, and he is interesting. I've got the one from the nominate contract pack. I actually had the original nominate contract one. I've used that as a 3-star card quite a bit, and I quite like him. One advantage for me though is that I use manual shooting, so it doesn't matter for me that his finishing is low. So that weakness really doesn't matter for me. It's just the fact you just have to be careful on the ball with him. And on that basis, I've really enjoyed my 2 Okafor cards, but I'm not sure about everyone else. I think what you really need to do is you need to try and beef up some of these technicals, and it's a question of how much can you afford to take away from here, because like when we were looking at Rafael Leão and Chukwueze, how much can you afford to take away? Because when you take away points from speed, you lose kicking power and you lose stamina. Stamina's not necessarily a massive loss as a centre forward. You can always sub them off second half, especially if you've got a super sub centre forward on the bench. Kicking power though, that is important with your finishing, so it's a bit of a shame, but we do need to beef up the technicals. So I'm going to take 4 off lower body. I hate seeing that kicking power in the 70s, but it is what it is. And then with the acceleration, can you spare points from there? Yes. You're going to take balance with it. Can you afford that? Yes. Excellent. Okay. And then the only other one that's going to go down with those with dexterity is attacking awareness. And there you have a problem, because you don't want to go below 88 on that. So what do? Because we only freed up 8 points. Once they get us 2 more in finishing, you can't take any from dribbling. You could take some from aerial. 4 points. You get 1 more in finishing. And then you just got 1 point spare. It's not looking great to me, to be honest. I really don't like those technicals being as low as they are. If you don't mind that, if you don't need him to be great on the ball, if you just want a goal poacher to be quick, to get him behind the defence and to be able to take chances for you, he could be a pretty useful card for you. But another downside with this guy, and all the previous cards as well, or at least most of them, no first time shot. So we've got a few skill moves there. We've got long range curler, we've got acrobatic finishing, heel trick's a nice one as well. And he is a super sub, which is great, but first time shot is super important. And also he doesn't have heading. He's got a bit of physical ability. You can easily train him up to be decent in the air, at least in terms of winning headers, although once he wins a header, the header itself is going to be terrible because he's got terrible heading attributes. So yeah, he needs 1 or 2 skills, and this is one of these cards where he's got some great strengths, but he's also got 1 or 2 good airing weaknesses. So for some people, it could be a really fun card to have, depending how you train him and how you use him. He's certainly got some great qualities athletically, certainly on auto allocation. He's an absolute specimen. But down the left, some of these technicals leave a lot to be desired. So if you can find a way, whether it's the way you train him with, the way that you use him, the way that you use him to work around those technicals being so low, you might get a lot of joy out of this guy and really enjoy him. I've certainly enjoyed mine, but for a lot of people, those weaknesses might really spoil the card. So it just depends on, depends on what you want from a striker. So if he suits you, if you can get you some joy out of him, could be a really interesting card. It's a different profile to most of the strikers you've got, but for a lot of people, it might not really be a great one. And like I say, the fact we have one in a nominate contract pack that's slightly better than this, I think is a bit of a rotten one to put in the point store personally. So there you go. Hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully it's helped you to make your decision about whether it's worth you spending your hard-earned coins on the AC Milan pack or your hard-earned eFootball points on Okafor, albeit there's not a lot else to spend your points on. Hopefully we'll be getting some news over the coming days about the update. It's still not confirmed when it's coming. Hoping it's coming this Thursday, otherwise it'll be the next Thursday. But yeah, if we get some news on that, I'll try and do a video about that soon. As always, I'm crazy busy. I'm trying to do more videos and streams, just struggling to find the time. But yeah, keep your eyes on the Discord and on the community tab. I will update you all whenever there's a stream coming up, and I'll try and get another video out. But at the latest, I will be back on Thursday for Player of the Week. So cheers for watching. Again, I hope you found this useful. I'll be seeing you soon. Take it easy.